Hi everyone, my name is Stephanie Newton and I'm here to talk to you about how to decide which diet is right for you. And we're going to talk about Paleo, Keto, autoimmune protocol, Whole30, and Trim Healthy Mama, probably the newest one on the scene. Again, I'm Stephanie, I'm a wellness consultant. I have a bachelor's degree in nutrition and exercise physiology, which is why I tend to be very interested in diets and different, nutrients and things like that. So let's get started. Everyone seems to be jumping on some sort of bandwagon these days. I am currently on the keto bandwagon, but I'm also sort of incorporating a couple paleo days these days. I'm in the experimental phase with that. I'm not sure how well it's going, adding the carbs in. I'm doing a video on that soon, so I'll go ahead and connect that up here. And I just recently did a video describing each of these diets. That'll be linked right up here. I think it's important to maybe go watch that video first if you haven't, if you are not aware of the basic building blocks of what makes up these diets and what the guidelines are. Of course, there are no hard and fast rules. Some very dogmatic people will tell you that there are, but we do the best we can. We're all human, but there are guidelines for each one. And I'm going to kind of compare and contrast the benefits of each of these types of diets. So today we're going to talk about what your goals are, what your lifestyle is. Do you have children? Do you travel a lot? Things like that. How is your health? Those things will help you to determine which one of these dietary guidelines is best for you, or dietary lifestyles. So first, let's start with, what are your goals? So your goals could be weight loss. You could be trying to overcome an autoimmune condition or any health condition. Maybe you're trying to increase longevity, and maybe you're trying to overcome food sensitivities or determine what your food sensitivities are, because those can make a big difference in our health. So let's talk about this. Weight control. I would almost say that if you are being resistant right now, if your body's being resistant to weight loss, keto might be the way to go, because you are lowering those carbs very low and you're replacing your energy source. You're not using glucose anymore, you're using fat. And this puts you into ketosis and gives you a lot of energy, and also puts you in a state where you can more easily burn fat. So I think that possibly keto wins here. Now, if you're not super weight loss resistant, paleo would be fine as long as you're just watching your carbs. Almost all of these would probably help. Trim Healthy Mama is really geared toward weight loss. So I almost want to say keto and Trim Healthy Mama, if you're kind of in that middle age, you got that little tum-tum like I do, and you have that resistant weight. I still have 5 to 10 pounds I want to lose. So I am doing keto. I don't know, I might experiment with Trim Healthy Mama at some point, I don't know. So let's talk about what your lifestyle is like. If your lifestyle is just fast-paced, on the go, traveling all the time, keto may be very difficult. I almost think paleo wins here. So let's put travel. Oh, and I forgot to write weight loss for keto and weight loss for Trim Healthy Mama. Remember that, you might be thinking to yourself, well, I lost 10 pounds on Whole30. These are just my opinion, okay? So for travel, I think paleo would probably be the best one. It has the least amount of rules. You don't have to count your macros. You don't have to separate carbs and fats the way you do with Trim Healthy Mama. You don't have to eat every 3 hours the way you do with Trim Healthy Mama. You don't have to, again, count your calories and macros the way you do with keto. Autoimmune protocol and Whole30 are very restrictive. So if you're traveling, it's going to be really hard to maintain these diets, okay? So I give paleo the win for traveling and being very busy on the go constantly kind of thing. If you're gaining anything from this video so far, please consider giving me a thumbs up. Okay, next we're going to talk about, do you have kids? Or do you live with a whole bunch of people who are not going to go along with this dietary restrictive eating that you're doing? I want to say that paleo, keto, and Trim Healthy Mama win here. I can't pick a winner, guys. I just can't do it. If I had to, maybe I would say Paleo and Trim Healthy Mama, because they're probably the most flexible here. But the thing is with keto is that you're still able to eat all 4 food groups, and you don't really have to separate them. You don't really have to eat on a timeline. So that's why I include this here, even though some of you are probably like, I heard keto is super restrictive. I don't know about that. I find it pretty easy. So for an example, tonight I made a pot roast and I put potatoes and carrots in there, and I don't eat the potatoes, but my kids do. And then I can make a side of cauliflower for myself and put some of the beef broth on there. Oh my gosh, so good. Cauliflower rice. And so I find it pretty easy to combine foods that all of us can eat. So paleo, I would say it's pretty much the same thing. I mean, you're eating meat and vegetables and fruit. Most kids will eat fruit, most kids will eat meat, and then you can make something else on the side that, if they really want something else that you can't eat. Paleo works to me. Paleo is the most flexible on here. I did this diet and at some point I'm going to record my results on that diet. And Trim Healthy Mama, there's a lot of different foods that you can eat here. The only starch that you eat, though, is sprouted grains or sourdough. So if you're going to make a starch on the side with your meal, that's for the kids, and you make your own starch, or you don't have starch for the meal that you're making. But it's pretty easy to make a central dish and, have a variety of side dishes, or just a couple. I mean, I'm the side dish queen, believe me. We just eat what we eat. But Trim Healthy Mama, you have to eat every 3 hours. So that could be, like if you have kids, that can be hard. Your kids, especially if they're like teenagers or they're coming and going, or they're toddlers that eat every hour. I mean, that time frame could be a little bit difficult. So let's talk about if you're trying to overcome a health condition. Ding, 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 ding. Autoimmune protocol is going to win here. But I have to say, unless you have a severe condition, I honestly believe that any one of these dietary lifestyles can work for you. But the thing with the autoimmune protocol is that they eliminate groups of foods such as nightshades and legumes and things like that some people are surprisingly very sensitive to. I have a lot of clients that surprisingly come to me and say, I cannot eat nightshades. X, Y, and Z happens. I have a son myself who's very food sensitive. So, I've seen it, I've lived it, I know what that's like. So yeah, autoimmune protocol, I think, takes the cake, because they're taking out any and all possible autoimmune triggering foods. It's again, I think it's probably the most restrictive here. I know some people are probably going to message me and say, oh, it's so easy, I do this one, don't make it sound like it's bad. I don't mean to make it sound like any of these are bad, you guys, seriously. I think Whole30 is pretty restrictive. Some people would say keto is super restrictive. In fact, when I started the keto diet, I was like, oh my gosh, what can I eat? So let's go ahead and give autoimmune protocol health conditions. And I forgot kids, okay? If you have kids, I'm gonna say paleo, what did I say? Keto, oops, kids. And Trim Healthy Mama, kids. Dryer's done. So let me go ahead and conclude by giving you sort of my final thoughts on the pros and cons, the comparisons. And I'm gonna have to read from my notes for this because there's just too much to say. So any diet over and above the standard American diet is going to take commitment and work. So don't think to yourself like, ooh, let me pick the easiest one. They're all gonna be work, okay? If I had to pick one that's the least, I'm going with paleo. But honestly, once you get used to each of these diets, it's not as much work anymore. You have all the food in your house, you have your recipes, you just kind of do it. So I wouldn't put that as the #1 factor. My guess is that paleo would take the least amount of work. I already said that. Autoimmune protocol seems like it's the most restrictive, and for good reason, because you're trying to cure yourself of a condition, right? Keto is probably the second most restrictive, and requires you to get your macros down to a science. This takes time and effort. So yeah, I guess I'm gonna say keto is probably the second most restrictive. you have to count your macros and you have to get them right. So like and honestly guys, I'm not counting my macros every day right now. And I should be, because I'm sort of at a plateau, you know. I've just been busy, I'm not counting them. I'm also not exercising as much as I should, so that could be it too. But I generally have a feeling of when I'm in ketosis or not. But yeah, I mean, this one is work. Whole30 is quite restrictive, but you are not counting macros. So yeah, you're not counting your macros with Whole30. So yes, it's restrictive. But it's not necessarily for weight loss. It's to help you identify food sensitivities and things like that. Trim Healthy Mama requires food separation, so it requires you to separate your fats and your carbs, not completely. Like if you have, let's say you have, I don't know, a piece of sourdough bread and you want to put a tiny bit, I think you're allowed to put like a certain amount of butter, a small amount of butter on it. But you have to separate large amounts of fats and carbs. They're not supposed to be eaten together, and then it's every 3 hours. So, you know, if you don't like eating on a schedule, that's something to consider too. But it's known to help you lose weight. So, you know, there's not one clear winner because everybody has different needs. Some people have kids, some people don't. Some people travel a lot, some people don't. Like I work from home, okay? So I can pretty much do any diet that I want because I don't necessarily have to do like a big meal prep on Sunday in order to make it through my week, because I can meal prep through the week as I go. Like for me, it's a nice break to stop work in the middle of the day, go in there and make a meal, go into the kitchen and make a meal that will last me several days. And that's all the cooking I do that day. And then the next day I might make another meal that will last me several days. So now maybe I have breakfast done for a few days and I also have lunch done for a few days. And all I have to do the third day is make dinner, you know? So it's like I can kind of meal prep a little bit each day as I go. And I work from home. If I get hungry, you know, I don't have to pack snacks in the morning to make sure I have enough food. Like it's all right there. The downside to that is there's food with me all the time, including my kids' very tempting yummy treats. Let me know your thoughts on the pros and cons of these diets. It's hard to like put them into categories, you know? For one person, one of these diets might be great. For another person, another diet might be great. And again, it's gonna have to do with your health conditions and things like that. The other thing I should add is if you're trying to lower your blood sugar, which is one of my goals, keto will do that because it is low carb. But you can also do that too if you reduce your carbs on paleo, if you reduce your carbs on these things. So yeah, the last thing I have to tell you guys is that I am developing an online coaching program surrounding diets and nutrition and exercise and things like that. Hoping to launch it April 2020, putting it out there so that, you know, I have accountability. So go ahead and find me if you're interested in that at my website. And I hope you guys have a great day. Good luck picking your diet.